Je pense sans cesse à toi.
Hello and welcome to The Foretop. It's a roundtable discussion of today's hot-button topics in food and beverage. I'm your host, Catherine Cole. In episode 59, we will be going free. That is, exploring dairy-free, sugar-free, and gluten-free plus eating, all of which are increasing in popularity and causing cooks to ask a lot of questions. Here in the studios of OPB, we are joined by Claudia Lucero, founder of Urban Cheesecraft and author of the books 1 Hour Cheese and 1 Hour Dairy-Free Cheese. Welcome, Claudia.
Hi, thank you.
And Kyra Bussanich, 4-time winner of the Cupcake Wars on the Food Network, owner of Kyra's Bake Shop and author of the cookbook Sweet Cravings. Hello.
Hey, Catherine. Thanks for having me back.
And Juno DeMelo, who writes for pretty much every publication I've ever heard of, including Bon Appetit, Real Simple, and Food and Wine Online. Hi, Juno.
Hi.
All right, guys, let's dig into our first course, the world of dairy-free cheese.
Okay.
65% of adults have difficulty digesting dairy products, and variations on the vegan diet are increasingly popular. Claudia Lucero, you are an accomplished cheesemaker and author who has ventured into lactose-free territory with your new book, 1 Hour Dairy-Free Cheese. So what inspired you to write this book?
Yeah, so I actually do eat cheese. I'm a traditional cheesemaker first, but now in my 10th year of business, I have to tell you from day one back in 2009, I was getting requests for almond milk substitutions, soy milk, and we just use that with your regular kits, and then eventually with my dairy book. And you can't do that. But at first I was kind of rolling my eyes, like, a vegan cheese is so gross. Why would I want to deal with that? And it just wasn't my thing. But, kind of stayed in the back of my mind because I have a background in social work and nonprofit work. And so I always like to fill a need, right? So it stayed in my mind that people asked about it so much. And then, of course, because life is crazy, my partner decided to try an anti-inflammatory diet, and part of that was going dairy-free in addition to soy-free and sugar-free and gluten-free. So there I was, now at home, experimenting with dairy-free cheeses, and a lot came out of that.
And this book. And
yeah.
It's not too hard to make these dairy-free cheeses at home?
No, I wanted to approach it as real food because, like I said, I wasn't impressed with the early dairy-free cheeses on the market. And so I really wanted to approach it in a different way, like borrow from French sauces and how to make delicious gravies and soups. And then how can I then thicken things to make them nice dips and sauces, and then move on from there to make sliceable and shreddable wheels. And then because I like to limit myself creatively, it makes it more fun and challenging. Not only is it dairy-free, but I wanted to also make them quick and easy, so that's why the 1 hour thing stuck.
Well, I'm just so impressed. Over the weekend, in preparation for this, I bought some dairy-free cheeses at the grocery store, and they were so gross, most of them.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. It's incredible how different it is when you make it at home with real food.
Well, so Kyra, you're a baker, and you just dropped the term DF. I hadn't even heard that before, but you bake dairy-free as well, right?
We do, yeah. And I actually brought you all a box of completely gluten-free and dairy-free treats to try.
Nice.
So what's the secret?
To dairy-free?
Yeah.
It really depends on the product. And I have to say, going back to the cheese thing, Claudia, I've been a fan of yours with your kits since before we actually ever met in person. Before I even owned the bakery, I was buying your regular cheese kit and making all the cheeses. And I had the opportunity to try a recipe, I think, with your dairy-free kit. And I did this really nice melty mozzarella artichoke dip or spinach artichoke dip that was just delicious. So I'm super excited to dive into your new book, the Dairy-Free Cheese Book.
Cool. Thank you.
I have a question. So can you use any, are you primarily using cashew milk, almond?
Right. So that's the other thing I wanted to do was not just rely on nuts and coconut oil like a lot of the cheeses that you see on the market do. Because my partner went on this anti-inflammatory diet, it made me super aware of people's allergies and sensitivities, and nuts being a really big one. So I wanted to make sure that with every recipe there was a nut substitution, that you could use different vegetables if you don't do nightshades, all that kind of thing. So yeah, there's lots to sub and customize for yourself. myself.
And, I remember watching Claudia. She was developing some of these dairy-free cheese recipes, and she was using red bell peppers as a base and zucchini as a base.
Cauliflower, there's butternut squash, pumpkin, and, just a little bit for color, for flavor, for texture, but just using things creatively. With cauliflower, honestly, it was that nutty, kind of funky flavor that I wanted to add to fondue and to brie, that I just thought, how do you add that when it's not mold and it's not like, something that's been fermented and aged? And then also actually using fermented foods like miso paste and sauerkraut for that lactic acid and aged flavor too. So
and
yeah,
kind of
super
that
fun.
umami, right, Claudia?
The umami with miso, it's the best.
Oh, I love all this because I do not do well with cashews. So the cheeses I was trying to buy that were dairy-free, I was looking at the ingredients and they were all just basically coconut oil, salt, and sugar. And I was like, ugh, this is so gross. Why am I eating this?
That's kind of the standard out there. And I do have to say it is really difficult. It took me much more time and many more trials to develop the dairy-free recipes than the dairy recipes. So I can understand that they would just kind of put together some basic things and some flavorings and then just put a product out there that kind of looks like cheese, but really like a block of plastic, So I wanted this to just be way more tantalizing than that.
My understanding is that avoiding meat and dairy products is the single biggest way to reduce your environmental impact on the planet. I just read this study that was published in the journal Science last May. It seems to me that more and more people are going dairy-free, even if it isn't for a health reason. Are you finding that?
I find a lot of reasons. It's interesting you say that. When I first started this, I thought, okay, it's going to be vegan people that are interested in this. And, vegan people may choose that diet for lots of reasons. It's for the animals, for their own health, because it's more sustainable, et cetera. But as I found with teaching classes before the book even came out, all different people are coming in. Omnivores, the most of all. I'm calling them lessitarians, or they're called flexitarians. Have you guys heard this? And so the idea that, you can maybe digest dairy okay, but only certain cheeses, or maybe you can't do ice cream, or only super aged cheeses. And so they start getting the idea of like, well, maybe I'm a little bit lactose intolerant, I should kind of back off. Or they want to save their dairy for like, holidays or fondue or something special, but on a regular basis, maybe they just don't need it all the time. And so that's the flexitarian. And then people coming in that maybe their doctor told them like, oh, your cholesterol's super high, maybe you should lay off the ice cream every day or the cheese every day. Kind of thing. And then, of course, lactose intolerant, allergic people, there's also casein intolerance, right? So there's
what's casein? Remind me.
Casein is the protein in dairy. So lactose is the sugar, and casein is the protein. So it could be that people have sensitivities to one or the other or both. So if you have, what I understand is I shouldn't say it because I'm not positive, but anyway, some people can digest sheep's milk cheeses, goat's milk cheeses, but maybe not cow's milk. And so then they start kind of picking and choosing. And now what's happening, it seems like, is that dairy-free options are becoming one of the options in the mix. Yeah.
And Claudia, can I ask you, my understanding, because I am like self-diagnosed as lactose intolerant. But I eat tons of dairy. I carry Lactaid in my purse.
Yeah.
Is that the more aged cheeses have hardly any lactose.
That's right.
And
That's exactly right.
Okay, so it's like the ricotta that would be problematic.
Yeah,
for
burrata,
summer.
mozzarella, all those super soft milky cheeses, avoid those. And ice cream and cream sauces, all the delicious.
That is the best.
I know. But, I love aged Gouda and Parmesan cheese, and those are pretty much lactose-free. But again, it may be a casein intolerance, and so you'll have to watch it and just experiment with yourself. But hopefully it's just lactose for you.
Yeah, I think so.
Juno, you cover diet trends. Have you been noticing more people going dairy-free? Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people are what Claudia was kind of saying, like minimizing. I don't know if they're free, or it's kind of like I'll have it every once in a while, but day to day I try to steer clear. I think a lot of people start off wanting to reduce dairy or whatever, and then it becomes really inconvenient.
Yes.
And so that kind of throws up a hurdle. I have a lot of friends who are like, they'll kind of do an extended Whole30, and then they feel really good, but they're kind of like, I just don't have time to not make macaroni and cheese.
Right.
So,
or you're traveling, or you're at events and things, and it's hard to avoid.
Exactly.
It's true.
So, Claudia, I'm curious, did your partner find that it helped his health at all to cut dairy out? Or?
Well, it's hard to tell because he cut so many things out at the same time. So what did it? We're not sure. But certainly the kind of digestive distress that he would feel when he would drink milk, he never experiences that anymore. So for sure, for him, he had some lactose intolerance, I think. So yeah, he doesn't have that anymore.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, this book is beautiful. People should go check it out. Just the cover image, I can't even believe these cheeses are dairy-free.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's different because I really went into it like I'm a cheesemaker. I want them to be just as beautiful, to treat the outside like beautiful rinds, whether you rub them with paprika and olive oil, or there on the cover we even did a charcoal, so kind of like the goat cheeses, that have the vegetable ash on them. And then also just created pairings even in the back of the book so that you can not only make your cheese, but also make a really beautiful cheese platter with like a fruit compote or a pesto, olives and nuts that you can serve on the platter for the whole experience.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I can't wait to try some of these recipes out.
I know. Where are the samples, Claudia?
I know. You know what? This morning I was like, I bet they're expecting cheese. Whoops.
Well, that's okay because we have a very fun sponsor today that's it actually is very much in keeping with our theme for this episode. It's Shrub Small Barrel Natural Balsamic Soda. It is a delicious bottled shrub that's made with 0 added sugar, and there are only 3 ingredients: flavored white balsamic vinegar, coconut water, and lightly carbonated water. And I guess natural flavorings. Shrub is a drink that originated hundreds of years ago before refrigeration, when people would keep fruit in vinegar so they could have fruit year-round. And then after they ate the fruit, they'd have this delicious fruit-infused vinegar that they would use to make drinks. So we get to try some of this today.
Fascinating.
Have a little break and taste some of this. Why don't I just open some of these and then I can tell you a little bit more about it.
Yeah, that combination of flavors. I'm so curious to taste that. And bubbly? Is it bubbly?
Yes, she said sparkling
water. Okay.
I'm a huge fan of anything
coconut
bubbly.
water, yeah. So I'm just like, how is that going to be delicious?
Some glasses and some bottles around.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I love that sound.
So here.
Oh, are they different flavors?
They
too?
are.
What flavor
So we
is
can
that?
try this.
I have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Kyra, orange, and vanilla is mine. So kind of a creamsicle.
That sounds good, Claudia.
Lemongrass mint
Ooh.
with 0 added sugar.
She gave me coconut.
Oh, yeah. Exactly creamsicle.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. Oh, I want to try a little bit of all of them. And then, Catherine, what's your favorite, or what's the flavor you have?
I have Cascadia raspberry. And these labels are really cute, too.
I love that because a lot of shrub drinks I've had are way too heavy on the vinegar. But this is really, really nice and balanced.
It is. This coconut's really nice. It reminds me of sitting on a beach. That suntan lotion smell. It doesn't taste as coconutty as it smells.
Oh my gosh, the aromatics on the raspberry. It's wonderful. Well, I'm super excited about having these guys as our sponsors because it's a really neat story. The founder of Shrub, Aaron Wiest, doesn't drink because he's in recovery from addiction. And he was looking for a delicious beverage that he could drink socially, and this is just so delicious, and it's fun, and it's the kind of thing people will ask, like, "Ooh, what are you drinking? Can I have some of that?" I just think it's so good. Local listeners in Pacific Northwest, you can find Shrub at New Seasons Markets, Green Zebra Grocery, Bales, and Lamb's Marketplace. You can find more information at drinkshrub.com, and you can see a full list of stores that carry Shrub there. They are on Instagram at drinkshrub. And if you are attending TEDx Portland on April 27th, you will be able to try Drink Shrub. They will be offering samples throughout the day. And this is one of the largest TEDx events in the country. So,
tasty. Did you get to try a couple of the flavors, Catherine?
Cheers. I've been too busy talking.
Yeah.
But I have tried them before. Juno, how's your flavor?
It's delicious. Really delicious.
Having tasted them all, I think I like the raspberry the best because it's so raspberry-y.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like the tanginess that adds.
It's less sweet than the others.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of taps into my wine sensibilities as well. Raspberry is something that you often pick up in a red wine. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all really tasty. I could see sipping that instead of a cocktail for sure.
Yeah.
It'd go great
Or
with dairy-free
with a
cheese.
cocktail. Add it to a cocktail, too.
Well, I think I'm going to be serving these to my kids because
Cool.
they always want sugary sodas, and it drives me crazy. I'm always like, those are empty calories. And this product has no sugar added, which brings us to our next course. Sugar-free used to mean pink packets of Sweet and Low, also known as saccharin. And today, when you go to your coffee shop, there's like a whole rainbow of packets. There's blue Equal, which is aspartame, yellow Splenda, that's sucralose, green packets of stevia, and then, you go to the grocery store now and you can choose between agave, monk fruit, coconut sugar, maple syrup, honey, date sugar, erythritol. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Erythritol. I'm completely overwhelmed. Juno, DeMelo, Save Me. You cover nutrition trends for national magazines. But I've also noticed that your Twitter profile says that you're eating sugar and telling lies. So.
I love that.
Can you just get us up to date on the current state of alternative sweeteners and non-sugars out there?
I think so. I can try. I also feel overwhelmed by it. I have quite a lot of sugars in my pantry for various recipes that have called for weird, various brown. Usually they're brown. I feel like I think about like eggs when people think that brown eggs are healthier than white eggs, and they're actually the same. It's just a different colored chicken. I think sugar is that way too. My understanding, and I'm not a scientist, but I've written about this a lot, is that all sugars, and we're not talking sweeteners, which is an artificial sugar, but any sort of maple syrup, honey, agave, monk fruit sugar, whatever, are essentially just a combo of glucose and fructose in different ratios. Different, the molecules in different ratios. And my understanding is that your body really doesn't know the difference. Like whether there's wherever the sugar is coming from, whatever form it's in, your body breaks it down in such a way that it doesn't really matter. Like it's so infinitesimally small, that difference. And in fact, I was looking a couple years ago, I think the FDA is now kind of pressuring, they have guidelines, it's not mandatory, but pressuring food companies to call evaporated cane juice sugar, which is what it is. And I think that, artificial sweeteners have the benefit, and I'll put that in quotes, of having no calories, but studies have kind of suggested that they sort of trick your palate into not finding naturally occurring sugar to be as sweet. They make you crave more sweet. So, there's no real... I feel like people kind of want a magical solution of some sort, and I think the solution is not so much a problem of quality as it is just quantity. Like, whatever sugar you pick, don't eat as much of it. One example I found really interesting is that... when you talk about added sugars versus like naturally occurring sugars, like the sugar in an apple is no different to your body than the sugar in Coke. The difference is that an apple, for example, has about 19 grams of sugar, and it comes bundled with like nutrients and fiber and all these other things. And not many people would eat 3 apples in one sitting, but a Pepsi or Coke has as much sugar as 3 apples, and you could drink that in, I don't know how quickly you could chug a Coke, but you could, once it's separated out from where it naturally occurs, it's much easier to take in a lot more of it. And so I guess the gist is that too much of a good thing is bad, but there's no, whether you I make my granola with maple syrup because I think it tastes good, but I'm not tricking myself into thinking like, it's got trace minerals. I don't know, maybe it's doing something, but I don't think so.
I totally fell into this trap this morning because I've been trying to have plain Greek yogurt with maple syrup and almond butter for breakfast. I'm trying to be healthy, but then I just noticed this morning, I was like, I just put half a container of almond butter and like half a cup of maple syrup in here. There's nothing healthy because there's so much, I just keep pouring it on because I think it's somehow better for me, and I'm probably using 4 times as much.
It looks better because it's brown, right?
Yeah.
Like it's naturally occurring. And I guess where you stand on processing comes into play. Like some people are really anti-refined sugar because it's refined. It's like been heavily processed. I don't think your body really understands like processed per se. Is my understanding.
Yeah, interesting. I know what you mean about the maple syrup just for good flavor, though I discovered coconut sugar and trying to find like a good, healthy alternative, and this was like new in the paleo world, the coconut sugar. My understanding is it's basically like the coconut sap, kind of like maple syrup, and then they boil it down, and then it gets dehydrated and becomes these coconut crystals. But it's so good. It's like extra toasty brown sugar. So I'm like, well, you know, this is fairly new on the market. Who knows if it's just as bad as white sugar? Because, you know, I guess cane sugar is also from a liquid, right? And it gets, exactly. But it's so good. But I think I am kind of like, well, now I can have it with my coffee every single day, whereas before I was having no sugar at all.
Right. I actually just went to a friend's house for dinner, and she's on some crazy free of everything diet, and she was like, well, I made a pound cake, but it's got coconut sugar. And I was like, I mean, it's delicious. I'm not sure it's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only one that I have heard from something called the GAPS diet is that honey, supposedly the way that it breaks down, your body digests it in a different way. But I'm not sure. I don't know what the science is behind that.
Some people have like a fructose intolerance with like the FODMAPs diet.
Okay.
I think honey is more problematic to digest. I'm talking more like when it gets to your liver, less.
Okay.
But yes, I think that is true. Some people have their stomach is upset when they eat certain sweeteners versus others, or sugars versus others.
All right, I want to hear from the baker.
I was just going to say, well, on a side note, I had lunch with a friend yesterday, and I said, you look fantastic. You're glowing. Your skin looks really good. You seem rested. You know, what are you doing differently?
She was like, I've been eating so much sugar.
No, she actually said she hadn't had sugar in 3 weeks. And I said, you gave up all sugar? And she said, yes. And I said, alcohol too? She said, oh, well, no, I still drink alcohol. And I'm like, but that's sugar. It breaks down into sugar.
Right. And even the same with like bread. I mean, the carbs in bread are sugar. It's all sugar. It's not all sugar, but...
Maybe she was just eating a lot of sugar.
Yeah, well, I eat a lot of sugar. I mean, I had 2 big handfuls of gummy bears on my way over here. So I live on sugar. Sugar and dairy is pretty much my diet.
And you always are glowing and looking amazing.
That's true. Thank you.
So, Kyra, have you ever tried baking without sugar or
I have.
sugar substitutes? And how does that work for you at all?
It's been interesting. I've had varying levels of success with different sugar alternatives. I have tried date sugar, erythritol, xylitol, coconut sugar, Lakanto, which is a monk sugar product. I've tried Splenda. I've tried Swerve, which is an erythritol, Splenda, or stevia mix. So yeah, I've tried a lot of these, not everything out there, but it's been interesting.
Yeah.
And is this because people come to the bakery asking for sugar-free products?
Partially I want to see, I mean, we built the business based on the premise that people shouldn't have to be excluded from celebrations. That's fundamentally what we're doing, is we're allowing people a way to all participate in the celebration and not feel like it's a punishment on their taste buds. And so, you know, that's part of why we made the transition to do more dairy-free options, especially when it was easy for us to change the recipes. That's why everything is gluten-free. And so sugar-free was kind of an extension from that, but it's been a process. Yeah. We do have a couple keto recipes coming that don't use any sugar substitute because I just don't like them as much. I don't like the way they taste. I don't like the mouthfeel. Excuse me. Erythritol leaves this really cold feeling on your tongue, which is really weird to me.
Yeah, I've noticed that with xylitol as well. It's like cooling, minty, almost without the mint.
Good for gum.
Yeah.
That's really good for
But not so great in cake.
No.
You know, and I'm one of those really sensory people that it's not just about the flavor for me, it's about the texture and the mouthfeel
I'm
and
that
the
way
experience.
with the cheese too. Yes.
Which is why your dairy-free cheeses are awesome, unlike a lot of the stuff out there. So I prefer, I'm like what Juno was saying, I prefer to do moderated quantities if sugar's an issue.
Well, Juno, what's your thought on stevia? Because that's everywhere now.
I mean, my main problem is it tastes bad to me. I feel like I always, if I eat a product that I don't know has it in it, I always have this weird aftertaste and I'm like, something's up with this.
Yeah, for me it does have that same flavor, sort of like Sweet and Low or something has.
A little bit of that aluminum foil.
Yeah.
thing.
That weird aftertaste.
Yeah, really strange.
Yeah.
People say it varies brand to brand, and if you have it powder versus liquid, things like that, but I haven't been motivated enough to try.
No. I've never tried to bake with it. Can you? Yeah,
You
comes in
can,
like that. Okay.
but you have to make other modifications too. So basically, the 3 structural building blocks to any baked product are eggs, sugar, because it provides structure, and gluten. And we're already baking without the gluten.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're trying not to add extra eggs and extra sugar unless we have to, because that changes the texture and it changes the flavor and it changes the mouthfeel. So you can bake with Splenda or stevia or whatever, but it definitely changes things.
I would much rather just have one cookie with sugar than
Me too,
two with stevia.
personally.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So, what do we think? If we're going to vote on our favorite cane sugar alternative or corn syrup alternative, what do you think,
For
Juno?
what use,
Yeah,
Catherine?
that's a thing.
Is it for putting in coffee? Is it for making ice cream with it? Is it for making a cake?
Okay.
Super good point. Yeah.
Okay, one of each.
Okay. For putting in my coffee, coconut sugar. Most other things, maple syrup, so delicious. For baking, I like honey because usually at home I am baking gluten-free, grain-free, and honey adds some gooiness. It holds things together.
That's helpful.
Do you know?
Wait, I have a question for you, though, that
Yeah.
will help answer this. This is a potentially dumb question, but as your baker, I'm going to ask. Brown sugar, I feel like I've heard or read that sometimes it's white sugar with, like, something added
Molasses?
back. Yes, to turn it brown.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
it
correct.
was white sugar at one point?
Uh-huh. It's
so
still
in
refined.
theory, it's even more refined than white sugar, right?
Yes.
Or more processed?
Yes.
So can you not get brown sugar that's just brown because it's not been turned white?
You can. You can get unbleached sugar, which is kind of an ivory color. You can
Okay.
also get turbinado raw sugar,
Oh,
which is
yes.
brown, but it's typically a little bit larger crystal.
Yes.
And other cultures also have it regularly. Like I'm Mexican, and so if you go to a Mexican shop, you'll find these cones of true
Yes,
raw
I
sugar.
have that. I've purchased that for the Frontiers Baking Cookbook. Had like a muffin recipe or something. I still have a cone of
Yeah.
that 2 years later. Also jaggery.
Yeah, I was
Yes,
going
I
to
was
say
just
there's
gonna
an
say
Indian
that there.
version,
Mhm.
right? Yeah.
Jaggery.
And that has a lovely molassesy
Oh yeah,
flavor.
they are tasty. I
And
think
it
maybe
melts
that's why I
nicely.
like that coconut sugar. It reminds me of that, but it's already pre-ground. It's
Yeah,
much
you don't have
easier.
to chip away at it.
Yeah, sometimes I actually put that on my oatmeal, that cone. What do you call it?
Let me think, because there's some crude names for it. So let me think of the good
no.
one. I know there's some bad ones.
Juno, are you
I know.
talking about the
I don't wanna
Mexican
say it.
sugar?
Yes. It's
It comes
I've,
like in a
grated it
cone.
onto my
Yeah.
oatmeal before.
I'll try to think of the name
Okay.
that's
Oh, I'm
decent.
gonna be in the Yucatan in a week, so I'm gonna look for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just dark brown little cones, almost like cheese looking, and they just usually stack them and you buy a chunk.
Oh. And Claudia, okay, I'm going to buy the coconut sugar for my coffee. So,
Yes.
Juno, can you convince me to buy a different kind of sugar for something else?
Oh my gosh. Well, now that I know the turbinado is the actual brown sugar, I feel like that's kind of fun,
Yeah.
right? Is that the same as demerara sugar?
Good question.
That is a good question, and I don't know the answer to that. My impression is that they're different, but
Okay.
I can't tell you why. That's just an impression,
Right.
so don't take my word for it, Juno.
Okay.
But you've won Cupcake Wars 4 times.
I'm using refined white sugar.
That's
You're
what
supposed to be a
wins
walking
awards.
encyclopedia. No, I'm kidding. But Juno, you did underscore my love of maple syrup. I do think that is.
Yeah, I think it's great. I put it in my granola
Yeah.
every time I make it. I obviously put it on like pancakes and waffles. I don't really bake
But it has to be
with
the real deal, not the
Yes.
fake stuff.
Well, not pancake syrup.
Yeah.
Although, I don't know. I never buy it, but I do kind of love the Aunt Jemima's bottle.
That's what I grew up with.
And that's
still
pancake
exists?
syrup. Yeah. Yeah. What is pancake syrup then?
It's usually
Meat
corn
flavoring.
syrup.
I think
it's
and
corn syrup and
caramel
color.
color.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry to
What a
burst your
world.
bubble.
When your kid gets a little bigger, you'll start reading these labels and thinking, "Oh my God, why did I buy this? It's so not healthy." And so, Kyra, are you just 100% just straight white sugar fan, or
Mostly, Catherine, but I do have to admit that I put stevia in my coffee in the morning.
And you're
okay.
okay? Like you put a good amount enough that you don't taste it, or did you get used to it?
I
you
use
think?
one packet, and then I put a crap ton of heavy cream
Yeah.
in there,
Yeah.
and some nutmeg and cinnamon.
Ooh.
So when you say packet, though, is it a packet? Because I've seen some packets that I thought were pure stevia that I've seen at Starbucks, but they were mixed with erythritol as well. Is it that
The
one?
one I use is pure stevia.
Pure stevia.
I think
Okay.
they say
I'm gonna look for
stevia on the
that.
raw when you get them at the coffee place. Yeah. Oh, good. You're making me feel better about my stevia problem. All right. Well, let's move into our third course, which is gluten-free plus. Whether or not it's by choice or on doctor's orders, many Americans are gluten-free plus something else, be it sugar-free, dairy-free, or something altogether different. Kyra Bussanich, part of what inspired you to open your gluten-free bakery and write your cookbooks and appear on the Food Network and do all the wonderful things you're doing, is that you have a personal health problem that you're battling with that can only be managed by going on a pretty restricted diet. Is that right? And what have you had to cut out of your diet?
Yes. So I pretty much just avoid gluten. I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease when I was 20, and I was in and out of the hospital and on steroids off and on for 8 years. And it had all these other side effects, and I still didn't feel better. And in my late 20s, my mom, who was diagnosed with celiac disease and Hashimoto thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune disorder that affects the thyroid, tried to convince me to go gluten-free to see if I could reduce the inflammation enough that I would respond to the meds. So that was my primary goal and motivation in going gluten-free. The doctor called, my GI called, and wanted to take out my intestines because I was not doing well. And I said, before you cut into me, let me see if I can manage this by going gluten-free. And within 3 days, it was totally different. I had energy again. I was sleeping better. I wasn't waiting for the pain to come in. Because I was at the point where I couldn't even stand upright most days.
Wow. That's incredible. Food. Who knew?
Food.
But so that's amazing that you can be baking these. I mean, I'm not going to say that they're totally decadent, but they taste decadent to me. Oops, sorry, they taste decadent. You know, you can be baking these beautiful, cupcakes and pastries and consuming them, and you feel so much better. And only just having wheat out of your diet is making that difference.
Exactly. For me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my goal, like I said, my goal was to reduce the inflammation enough that I did respond to the meds. But within, I think, 9 months, I had weaned myself off of all the drugs I was taking.
Wow.
So it was also a money saver, even though gluten-free food can cost a little bit more if you're eating packaged food, which, another thing that we did was start eating more whole foods and less packaged foods. Unless I make them.
Wow. That's so inspiring, Kyra, because then now you can help people that are in the same situation that you're in, right?
Yeah, and we get customers all the time who say they wish they had heard my story before they had the surgery.
Oh, tragic.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people still to help. And you don't just have the bakery, but you have the book, so people can also bake their own treats.
Yes, thank you for the shout out,
Yeah.
So, Claudia, are you still following a restricted diet in your household?
I'm not. Well, Jeff
you
is
and your
my partner. Yeah, I told him in solidarity I committed to 2 years because that's what this GAPS protocol is supposed to be.
Huge commitment.
Yeah, but also I thought, I can go for some good health and less inflammation. I was down. Plus, I'm the cook of the family, so I'm making everything for both of us. So after 2 years, I was like, okay, let me try grains. Let me try more, like we call sugar the white devil at home. Even though, I started eating it, no problem. But with him, he just doesn't want to take any risks. It's not worth it for him. So, yeah, I've definitely hit up Kyra's book for tips on gluten-free baking because I'm the worst baker. That's why when I hit upon honey for cookies, I was like, okay, they burn in a millisecond if you look away. But if you get lucky, the texture is awesome. So, yeah, I pick up tips.
And can you remind me what the GAPS protocol is? What does
GAPS,
that
it stands for a gut and psychology syndrome, I believe. Yeah, and so it's cutting out specific carbohydrates. It's a lot like paleo, but a lot more therapeutic. And you start off by just having a bunch of broth forever, kind of this cleansing. And then you slowly introduce things. And the whole idea is as you introduce, you're trying to figure out what you're sensitive to. But you do it for 2 years to heal your gut and, hopefully be able to even reintroduce things like dairy and test yourself out with gluten and different sugars. But he just got to the point where he didn't really want to reintroduce a lot. He just was like, I'm going to leave well enough alone. I'm happy eating this way. It works for him. But, like your friend, Juno, that you said with the Whole30, I've done the Whole30 and I love it and I love how I feel. But after a while, I'm just like, this is too much work. It's really hard to travel and go to outings, especially when you're in the food world. like with you, Kyra, I can't imagine how you just avoid gluten everywhere you go. You're just so used to it now.
You know, Claudia, I'm not celiac, so as long as I'm eating gluten-free when I eat out, I don't worry as much about cross-contamination as I do when I'm eating with my celiac friends.
Right. I hadn't thought about that. It's Crohn's.
It does, yeah, it makes a difference.
I actually never knew that Crohn's, that gluten was a trigger for people with Crohn's.
I don't know if it is. I may have non-celiac gluten intolerance.
I see.
Because when they tested me, it was a process of elimination and ruling out everything else.
Right.
And it finally came down to you either have celiac or Crohn's, and the upper endoscopy and colonoscopy and biopsy will tell us which one it is.
Okay. Wow. But the great thing is you just found what works, and you're just sticking with it and made a career out of it, which is incredible.
Gluten-free. I don't drink a lot of alcohol. I don't smoke. So those are all things that can exacerbate Crohn's and really all autoimmune issues.
Right. Right.
Can we take a second and talk about airplane food, Kyra?
Yes, but can I suggest that you guys snack while we do that?
Oh, yeah,
I brought you a box of gluten-free, dairy-free pastries. There is sugar in them.
Well, that's a way.
Devil.
Juno has convinced me that sugar is okay. So I am gluten-free, and I usually order the Asian vegetarian on airplanes.
And you don't worry about soy sauce or any of that?
It's usually Indian.
Huh.
But I have found that it is really hard to find, because they still bring you like a bagel, you know, for the snack or whatever. So what do you just order the gluten-free option, or what do you do?
I order the gluten-free option when there is an option, but I also don't expect that I will be able to eat anything anybody else feeds me. So I always travel with like 3 days worth of food in my purse.
Yeah. Yeah, I always have like almonds and stuff with me as well.
Almonds and crackers and gummy bears and maybe an apple or an orange.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I sent you guys a link to an article that came out, I can't remember when, a few months ago about someone who got on an airplane. They got on like a 9-hour airplane trip and was given a banana and nothing else because...
Okay, the thing that I find offensive about that article, though, is not that he was given a banana, because that's great. Whatever, it's, you know, real carb-rich, that'll keep you full for 40 minutes or something like that. It's the fact that it came with a Post-it note that said gluten-free 22A. That's what I find offensive.
I read a little bit more into this because I just couldn't believe it. And so apparently on this 9-hour flight, you get a meal and you get a snack. And that was given to that person during the snack portion. And I think probably what happened is that little note was there for the employees to know, and they just passed it on. So it was like little things that added up to being really insulting, you know?
But, you know, being given a snack an hour before landing is great. You know, it's not something that they need to do, especially as airlines are trying to cut costs. And I'm not trying to defend them by any means. I'm just saying that when you have to eat, when I have to eat outside the norm, like when I go to friends' houses, I don't automatically assume that they're going to be able to feed me.
Yes.
So I make sure to not come super hungry. And when we're done, if I'm still hungry, I can go home and eat.
Right.
You know, I don't want to cause other people extra stress. Now, as a hostess, when people are coming over, I try to find out, do you have any dislikes or aversions or allergies?
I do the same.
So that I can feed everybody and so nobody has to feel excluded, because, again, that goes back to their whole mission.
Right. So you would not jump on a 9-hour flight without food at all and depend on them to feed you. Yeah, I wouldn't do the same. Yeah.
I actually just flew to Oahu, and I was shocked that they offered a meal. But I was even more shocked that they offered one meal and one meal only. And I actually called ahead. I'm mostly pescatarian, like 95% of the time. And I called, and they said there is no vegetarian option at all. And they just handed a chicken sandwich to everyone. And I knew ahead of time, so I planned. But I was a little surprised that there was no option beyond the one. I think on the way there it was an egg sandwich because it was breakfast, and on the way back it was a chicken sandwich. I thought a vegetarian option was pretty widely...
Yeah, I would assume the same too.
But you know, did they have those boxes, the snack packs that you could buy?
Yes. But I didn't want to eat snacks the whole flight.
Yeah. It seems like they could throw together a cheese sandwich. You know, if they could do a chicken sandwich, can they just make a cheese sandwich?
Yeah, you really are trapped once you're on there. You're right. I guess you can always buy snacks.
Well, it is interesting. I think we have this perception that more people are vegetarian or vegan now, and it's actually not true. It's just that more people are flexitarian, is my understanding.
Or, Catherine, even that more people are talking about their food.
Right.
Because people are now being given options,
Yeah.
I guess when my mom was growing up, they were not given options. You will eat what you are served, and you will not complain about it.
That's how I grew up, yeah. And, through years of being a vegetarian and trying to be vegan and then even trying the SCAPs, it's uncomfortable because I grew up like you eat what you are served and, there's not a lot of money, so this is the food you get. And so to be the picky one, it's an uncomfortable feeling. So I think that's why it makes me an extra sensitive hostess, like you were saying, Kyra. Just make sure that there's something for everybody when they come over and they don't feel they have to ask and be special.
That's actually, Claudia, like the 5% of time I'm not pescatarian is when I go somewhere. I actually went out to dinner last night and accidentally didn't ask for the Brussels sprouts without bacon vinaigrette. And I was with a friend who eats bacon. And I was like, let's just eat it. It's fine. So it's when someone serves something to me that I kind of go with it.
Right.
I figure it's already made, and me turning it down is not going to save a cow at this point.
Right.
Well, and I feel like so much of what you covered, when you write about nutrition issues, it's like there are a lot of people for whom it is optional and it's a choice. And then people like Kyra and Claudia's partner, it is not a choice.
Right.
And so, kind of people who provide meals have to kind of walk that fine line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find it makes me really super alert and paranoid. Like I just did, the beginning of my book tour, and when I did Powell's or another local one, I had samples. And, I have this like huge sign, black and white letters, like nuts, this contains nuts, allergy warning. And, I'm the one that's more freaked out. And other people are just kind of like, oh, okay, what's in this? Kind of casual. But I'm so paranoid of giving somebody an allergic reaction. But I'm also like, don't just put things in your mouth without asking.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you're making dairy-free cheese, it's got to probably have nuts in it, right? Or most of the time?
It doesn't have to, but a couple of the options that I take to sample often do, just so I can show here's with seeds, here's with veggies, here's with nuts. But usually people have the nut allergy. And so then I do all that and I try to make everything gluten-free, and then somebody's like, oh, I don't eat corn. And I was like, I'm just never going to win.
Oh, life is so confusing now. Well, I just want to say I had the most amazing gustatory moment just now. Let me see. I was having the Cara orange vanilla shrub with the donut.
Oh, the blackberry crumb donut?
No, it's chocolate on top, but it tasted like
sprinkles?
cinnamon.
Nutmeg.
No, it's nutmeg.
Try that with the blackberry crumb donut, or even this cupcake here is a dairy-free mimosa. So it's a champagne cake with blood orange buttercream. And I bet that would be really good with the Cara shrub.
We are so fancy with shrubs and gluten-free donut pairings.
Is this the mimosa one? I don't know how I'm going to get into it without getting...
You just take a big bite.
So good. I can see why you won. You would never think that that's gluten-free.
Thank you, Claudia.
So good.
Well, as I shove this wonderful dessert into my mouth, maybe we should move to our dessert course, where we go around and share something foodie or beveragey we have been enjoying this week. I forgot to bring it, but I wanted to recommend another book by Jordan Michelman, founder of Spread, who's been on this podcast a couple of times. He is an expert in wine and coffee. His book is called The New Rules of Coffee, A Modern Guide to Everyone, and it's really cute. It looks kind of like brown paper coffee filter is what the cover looks like. But I was thinking about it as we were preparing for this episode because so many people cut coffee out of their diets, and it seems like a really good idea, but I don't think I could ever do it.
Except on decaf.
You are?
Yeah. I had to switch. I'm too nervous of a person as it is. I already have that jittery high, naturally.
Yeah. I mean, I did it when I was pregnant with both my kids, and I did feel better. Green tea's, I think, so much better for you. Yeah. But the one thing I loved... two things. One is he noted that some people put sea salt in their coffee, which I did not know was a thing.
Like as they're brewing it or in the cup?
In the cup as, like you would put cream or sugar. And the other thing I loved was he says that it's totally okay to put cream and sugar in your coffee.
Oh, good.
Which I totally do. And I thought coffee snobs thought that was a terrible thing, but apparently it's okay. So that's my dessert. And now I want to eat this. So, Juno, what did you bring for your dessert?
Okay. So I thought about two things I'm going to throw out there, but then I've got like the actual one. So I just went to Oahu. I went to Mina's Fish House in Oahu, where they had what they say is the world's only fish sommelier. Who explains all the fish to you and how it's prepared and where it comes from. And he's like a spear fisherman, which I loved. But I was more interested to learn when you're there, you know, there's pineapple and there's coffee and there's macadamia nuts, and you think there's all this stuff that's like very Hawaii and that it's so fertile and abundant. And a local there told me that Hawaii only has an 11-day supply of their own food. Oh, wow. And I looked it up when I got home, and apparently only 15% of their food is grown locally, and all the rest is imported, and then they export. I don't know if you've gone to Hawaii and you see all the pineapples in the airport that you can buy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Those are
But
imported?
what about the farms?
No, those are, but they sell a lot. Like a lot of the stuff, they hardly have any farms. And what they do have, are specialty crops where they get a lot more money for it if they export it versus the locals eating it. So, yes, you see these pineapples, and it's like they're sending them out into the world, but then the people who actually live there are buying their food from elsewhere. I thought it was fascinating.
Or they're like those coffee farms that you go as a tourist and you do the little tour, and
Apparently they have this goes back to sugar, they have no more sugar plantations, 0 sugar plantations on any of the islands.
Fascinating.
That is really interesting.
Yeah. They have fish, and they have a fish sommelier.
I wonder
They have
where,
poke.
I wonder where C&H sugar is coming from.
Oh,
then.
right.
Yeah. Oh, this could be a good journalistic venture.
That's my dessert.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Claudia, what did you bring?
So, I've been really into YouTube food shows these days, and I wish I could tell you this one that I'm like, I don't even want to say like obsessed or addicted to, because I'm just right now still in the stage where I'm like in awe, but it's all in Chinese. It's written all in characters. I have no idea how to even tell you to go find it. But if you want to try, like, you know, Chinese traditional recipes on YouTube, this woman might come up. This isn't my real dessert. I'm just telling you because I really wish I could tell you exactly how to go find her. But she just, like, will go harvest bamboo, and she makes her own, like, sofas, and she like whipped herself up a bathroom vanity. But she's also like, you know, foraging for mushrooms, and she kills a chicken off camera and then like comes and makes a chicken stew. It's just crazy.
Wow.
So I hope you can find that. But the other show that I balance that out with, because she just makes me feel like I'm ashamed to share this earth with her, you know, because it really looks like she knows how to do carpentry and just all of this amazing stuff. And then she like shares the food with her grandma at the end of the little show. It's really awesome. But the other one is just Claire on Bon Appetit.
That was mine.
No way.
Yes.
Well, I'll let you say more about it then, because I kind of talked about this my Chinese alter ego.
Okay.
Claire is incredible.
Yes,
Who's Claire?
Is. So Claire Saffitz is one of the Bon Appetit chefs who works in the Bon Appetit kitchens, and she has this YouTube channel on Bon Appetit called Pastry Chef Attempts to Make. And she'll take like Snickers and Skittles, and she did
Ferrero Rocher,
and she attempts to make a gourmet version of the classic store-bought item. Wow. And she goes through all of the different trials, and one of my favorite things is when she reads the list of ingredients and the editor overlays this over her reading the ingredients. So you see this whole screen filled with different artificial chemicals and whatnot. And then she goes through all the different trials, and she gets the other people in the Bon Appetit kitchens to weigh in and say what they like or dislike and what makes a classic Twix bar or whatever.
Right. Oh, and just like, don't you find the failures and her frustration, and like she spends a week and she has to come back and she's like start over from scratch. And you and I do so much recipe testing. I think we can totally relate.
Like a week is fast.
I feel her pain.
Yeah, I like when she was trying to do the Lucky Charms with the little marshmallows.
I just watched that one again last night because it's so good.
And the episodes are, maybe 15 to 20 minutes long. They're not super long, but they're really entertaining.
She
Does she always succeed?
She always comes to a point where she's okay with what she's put out, but sometimes it's 4 samples after 2 weeks of work.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
Enough
she just
for 4 people. Yeah.
She's just finally like, this is as much as I'm willing to do. But I mean, you guys, her what she considers is just okay is incredible, and I wish I could taste them all.
Do they tell you how to make it then?
Yes.
Yeah, she goes through, here's what you do to do this.
But it's insane. You would never do these things.
No, it's way too many steps for a home cook.
This is like a Beckett play or something. I mean, I feel like it's like digging a hole that will never you know, like a never-ending hole. Like,
she did top ramen. She did Pringles. So imagine the shaping.
Oh, Pringles, yes. And
Yeah.
she was trying to deep fry these mashed potato extruded, rolled out doughs.
One
and try to
by
do it,
one.
Yeah, between 2 different strainers that she had bent so that they would have that Pringles duck lip shape.
Yeah.
It was hysterical.
oh my gosh, this is insane.
And it stopped for a while. Did you notice that, Kyra? She
I
was
did.
gone.
There were no new ones.
Yeah, and everybody like on the comments were like, "Where's Claire? Where's Claire?" So I feel like she had like a little nervous breakdown about it. I'm totally making this up. I'm making it up. Or she was like, "I need more money," and hopefully they gave it to her and she came back. I don't know, but suddenly she's back and she made snowballs. Do you remember those coconut things? Yeah.
And what I really love is that she'll take the store-bought version and she'll have a whole pile in front of her, all wrapped, and then she'll unwrap one and examine it and kind of
like a
deconstruct it and talk
scientist.
about it's this element and this element, and
She
I don't
does
know,
like a cross section with the peanut butter cup, Reese's peanut butter cup. She did like a cross section. She's looking to see like the ratio of peanut butter compared to the chocolate. Then she scooped out the peanut butter, weighed just that, scooped out the chocolate, just weighed that, and then's trying to make hers match. You know, it's just nuts. It's amazing. Super creative and inspiring.
and family friendly.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I bet what she comes up with is so much healthier. I feel like Reese's peanut butter cups are just all salt and sugar, and they're so good.
And she's awesome too because she eats the original thing. She's just like, that is delightful. And it'll be like Lucky Charms.
She's like, I've never had Lucky Charms before.
She's amazing.
Wow. Well, I think that these Kyra's Bake Shop goodies are much better. Whatever she's making. Whatever she's making.
You'd give Claire a run for her money, that's for sure.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Juno DeMelo, freelance journalist for many national publications, including Saveur, Eating Well, and Shape Magazine.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Claudia Lucero, founder of Urban Cheesecraft, who has a has a brand new book out.
A badass new book? Is that what you wanted to say?
1 hour dairy-free cheese.
Oh, thanks so much. That was so fun.
And Kyra Bussanich, 4-time winner of Cupcake Wars on the Food Network, owner of Kyra's Bake Shop, and author of the cookbook Sweet Cravings. Thanks.
Thanks for having me again.
Hey, listeners, we love feedback. Visit our website at thefourtop.org, and you will find links to all of our social media handles so you can get in touch with us and continue the conversation. Today's episode was recorded in the high-fiber, protein-packed city of Portland, Oregon, in the studios of OPB. Alex Ward is our editor. Izzy Kramer is our assistant producer. Special thanks to sound supervisor Stephen Cray and the web staff at OPB. And our theme music was performed by the incomparable wine importer Kermit Lynch. And special thanks to this show's sponsor, Shrub. You can listen to our 58 back episodes on your favorite podcast app, including Spotify, iTunes, NPR One, Stitcher, or you can also listen to them through our dedicated website at thefourtop.org, where you can also donate to our show. Bye-bye.
Nuit blanche, nuit blanche, nuit blanche.